Hey, try not to take this the wrong way, but I'm giving you a restraining order. And this is what you hear. I'm going to do the pickups. So, yeah. Went to a good cause, so that's something, I guess, no? Okay. Hello, everybody. That's all the greeting you're going to get, because that's all I have. Sorry about that. Also, sorry about the mess here. I've been doing a bit of rearranging of drawers and stuff. Anyways, it's the end of the month, or the beginning of the next month, which means it's time for a pickup video for August. And quite a bunch of stuff here. Actually a couple of decent, I don't want to say decent, because that's subjective, but interesting finds regardless. So I guess we'll start chronologically, I guess. We'll start with the couple of finds that I got from the Montreal Comic Con thing that took place earlier this month. Yeah, that's the thing that I got. That was well worth the money. Toss that aside. That came with a tote bag that I'm using for other things. A t-shirt that's... They gave me one that's like two sizes too big, but, you know, gave it to a friend. I don't wear that sort of stuff to begin with, so, you know, doesn't do much for me. But, and yeah, my first Comic-Con actually that I've been to, and that was a pretty fun experience. Got to see all the stars from a distance because an autograph and a photo op is way too expensive. Personally, if I wanted to spend money at a convention or similar event, I'd like to spend it on tangible material, and that's precisely what I did. Bought a few comic books, bought a couple of DVDs here and there, and then there's a couple of video games that I picked up because there were a couple of vendors there. So like, here's the interesting finds, as it were, from the Comic-Con. First off, we got a Kid Dracula for the original Game Boy. This is a reproduction cart. It costs about 25 bucks. So that's a thing. Presumably the an authentic copy costs a little more, but whatever, you know, I'm happy to have a copy of Kid Dracula, you know, regardless of its origins. And speaking of reproductions, a couple reproductions of Super Nintendo games, I guess, which were originally Super Famicom games. You got Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon R, which is a beat 'em up, which is nice. Be nice to have a Sailor Moon game that I could actually play rather than the one. Anyways, that one's the beat 'em up. The only other Sailor Moon game that I have for Super Famicom is a puzzle game that uses the mouse. It has a bunch of tiles, and one day we'll look at that one. Maybe we'll look at this one, and that'll be fun. But I digress. The other reproduction card for the Super Nintendo that I have is Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Now, this is fan translated, so it's in English, which is nice. Be nice to play a Dragon Quest game on the Super Famicom, or in this case the Super Nintendo, that I can actually read and understand, because my Japanese starts and begins with Hadouken, and that's about it, really. I actually have the original Super Famicom card, but haven't played it much for obvious reasons. But I guess I have it, so anyways, it's nice to have like a translated version, so that's going to be nice. Maybe we'll look at that somewhere down the line. Then again, I'd like to look at the original NES version too. And last pickup from the Comic-Con, that's video game related, and thus the only thing that's worth showing here. And one I didn't expect to come across, but there we go. Got Marvel vs. Capcom for the Sega Dreamcast, which is better than Marvel vs. Capcom for the PlayStation because it's more like the arcade version, and that's always a nice thing. So that concludes the Comic-Con pickups sort of thing. Now we get to the stuff where I go to the usual places and get my pickups from there, and still not much in terms of the reproduction end, but they're more genuine stuff, but still some interesting finds nonetheless, I guess. We got Top Gear Pocket 2 for the Game Boy Color. I actually paid less than $10, but fun little racer on the Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance. Sorry, Force of Habit. Anyway, still, that's a fun game. You know, and I like the Top Gear games. You know, for the most part, as far as arcade racers go, that's probably my go-to series. Unless it's on the Nintendo 64 with Overdrive, because the steering's kind of sensitive, and RPM, the RPM tuning or whatever it's called, is not my cup of tea. But I digress. Speaking of not being my cup of tea, we have Double Dragon 3, the arcade game for the Game Boy. If you thought the NES version was bad, you probably haven't played this, because this is a hell of a lot worse. And I actually didn't mind the NES version, even if I'm shit at that version. You know, I'd much rather be playing that than this. So, NES will be looking at that. That's probably the only reason why I picked it up. Okay, so on the Super Nintendo front, we have X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. Couldn't give us X-Men Children of the Atom, so they gave us this alternative, and it's not bad. That's all I got. It's not a bad game, that's all I could really say. Also for the Super Nintendo, and I was kind of surprised to find this, and for relatively cheap, we have ActRaiser 2, which is nice, because it goes along nicely with my ActRaiser 1, and that's always a nice thing to have, I guess. So, I've never actually played ActRaiser 2. Played the first one. I actually liked the first one. That's probably one of the better games on the Super Nintendo library. But, anyways. Next up, a rare Master System pickup, we have Wonder Boy. That's before Monster World. This is the one that plays more like the Adventure Islands, or maybe Adventure Island plays more like Wonder Boy. I don't recall. More importantly, I don't care. They both play the same. They both have the same levels and stuff like that. Minor differences. Who cares? Wasting time with this needless exposition. Now here's the interesting thing. Another rare occurrence is a Famicom pickup. What we have here is Arkanoid 2. Presumably it's yeah, $15. I'm guessing that this is like a bootleg copy, because just looking at the label, it's a bootleg copy. But the game is actually Arkanoid 2: Revenge of Dough, because there's an actual Famicom version of Arkanoid 2, and this is it. So it's at least the same game in the cartridge as it's being labeled on. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know. Fun game to play. Would be nice if I had like a dial or a paddle controller thing, so it gives me better control, but what can I say? It's a nice find regardless, so I can't complain. A couple of games for the NES. We have Little Nemo, the Dream Master, which I haven't played in years. I remember this being a good game, so that's fun. And another game for the NES, because, you know, I had to buy this because since I had the Metal Gear for NES. We got Snake's Revenge. And that's as far as I go with Metal Gear. I just want to play the two NES games, and the only other Metal Gear that I have is the PlayStation 2 version, of Solid 3 that has the MSX games included. And guess why I bought that version? I just sort of... Anyways. Next up, couple finds for the Atari 2600. We got Reactor, which I'm assuming I probably already have, but I don't know. If I already have this, great, whatever. If not, no biggie. A couple more interesting finds for the Atari. I'll go with the more interesting one first. Actually, no, we'll just go with this one. We got Star Wars the arcade game. You know, you want to be amazed by what programmers were able to do with an Atari video computer system that had very limited capabilities. Just play Star Wars the arcade game. You know, the fact they were able to take that and turn it into this. You gotta admire the effort at least, which is more than what I could say for most of the games today. Unless you're indie and experimental, but I don't want to go into that discussion, I guess. Another game for the Atari 2600, which I've never actually played. And after playing the Atari 7800 version ages ago, and well, that version sucked, I'm dreading this one actually, but nonetheless, Double Dragon for the Atari 2600. Use joystick controller for 1 or 2 players. So, yeah. If you thought that's bad, wait till you play this. I haven't actually played that yet. I just got it a couple days ago. And, yeah, playing catch up. Another rare instance, a Sega CD pickup. This is all I got from it. Lodestar, The Legend of Tully Badin. And it's autographed by Rad. Who's Rad? Who knows? More importantly, who? Well, you know the rest. Couple games for PlayStation. Another game that I sort of dread picking up. The Simpsons Wrestling. Only a couple bucks for that one. And last, but certainly not least, also for the PlayStation, because I had the first game, I just had to get this one, Parasite Eve 2. So that should be interesting. That should be a fun time. And that's my haul for the month of July 2017. You know, a couple reproductive products, a couple interesting finds. Couple finds that I'm pretty sure I'm going to regret, you know, a week or so from now, if I haven't already. So, I guess it's worth having just to say I have it, I guess. And I'm actually kind of curious, to be honest with you, so even if it plays like crap, and I'm sure it will. That's the haul. That's yeah. Yar. So I'm gonna clear this out. And yeah, so that's the haul. If you're watching just as you know, this video was freshly minted, updates are probably going to be a little sporadic. Videos are going to be sporadic for the next month because it's summer and that sort of thing. And, you know, whenever there's nice warm weather outside that isn't ruined with rain and thunderstorms and things of that nature, well, I'm going to take advantage of the outdoors. And I'm going to do some outdoor stuff like road trips and that sort of thing, and making a lot of noise for late at night. But regardless, that's the haul, for better or worse. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Till next time, take care, and good night. Enjoy the rest of your summer, I guess.